Hello, I'm SP from Better Podcasting, a podcast for hobby podcasters, which is on the GonnaGeek.com network. And I also do another podcast called Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. And what these videos are designed to do is to help people that are just starting out and want to figure out how to edit their shows. I first edit my show in Movie Studio, Vegas Movie Studio 15.0 Platinum. And then I move over to Audacity to do an audio edit. And I figured the combination of the two would give somebody an idea of what it is to use a non-destructive and a destructive editor. So I'm in the middle of editing Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode number 260. It is on the Punisher series, episode 4. So if you haven't seen the Punisher yet and don't want to be spoiled, please don't go any further here. But if you have either seen it or don't care about it and just want to know how I edit, that is what we are all about here. I'm in the middle of the edit. I have roughly 15 minutes left in the segment I am currently editing. And then I will go on to the news segment and then the outro. This is, about 12 minutes, 20 seconds. It'll probably take a little bit, around a half an hour, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. It's hard to actually judge time for me editing while I am actually walking through it. And I will explain things along the way. And just to get everybody reoriented, I have several tracks in use. I have one video track, so I can't do any camera switching. So I'm sorry if you're here to see the video editing part of it. Basically, this is a straight cut anytime that I need to actually change overlays. I do that from time to time if need be. So I've muted the audio track there because everybody has recorded. My two co-hosts in this particular case, I actually have three co-hosts. I only had two co-hosts not in this particular episode. They all record locally. It's what's called double or multi-ending. And so we did a multi-ender for this. They record their tracks locally. And then I have distinct tracks to actually play with. The slight blue one here is my track. This track is Lauren's, and this track right here is Haley's. This track, which is cut off to the left, is the soundboard. Now, I do replace the sound bumps as I go along just because I like the cleaner sound that the original file gives me. And mostly what I'm doing is deconflicting sounds if people are over talking or if there are microphone sounds coming from one of the co-hosts, myself included, of just banging around, keyboard noise, clearing of throats, that sort of thing. I try actually not to clear my throat or anything like that because there's a mute button. It doesn't always work, but that is why I try to do this, is because I try to optimize the listening experience for the listener. I think that that is the key thing here because ultimately we are putting this out for the listener, whether it's a couple dozen people, a couple hundred, few thousand, tens of thousands, it doesn't matter. If you're putting it out there for people to listen to, there's two things that I actually prioritize. Well, content, there's a big one. So content, and then the other two are audio quality and time. So that is why I export it into Audacity later. That's the big thing, is I do a truncate silence. So sometimes I'm able to cut off up to 12 minutes per episode between the two, and in an hour-long show that can get down to 45 minutes or so, or if it's over an hour, it can get closer to an hour. So this is all stuff that's done for the listener to get the better quality podcasts out. In an earlier video, I go through the effects that I use on each channel. These are the effects that I use on mine. Denoiser, a Gmax, which is basically a limiting compressor, or limiting maximizer is actually what it's termed, but it's basically a compressor. Track, noise gate, and deverb. And usually I don't have deverb on my channel, so this must have been something that I decided needed to go on along the way. And then a declicker, which I turn on when it renders and not when I'm actually playing through. If I turn it on when I'm playing it, then it actually bogs the system down because it just takes so much resources to do. And I turn that on for all the tracks, all the voice tracks. There are just mouth noises that are taken care of with it, little clicks and ticks with the mouth noises along the way, as well as recording artifacts. I don't care if you're using a portable recorder like I do with the Zoom H6 and my co-hosts use the Zoom H5, or if you're going directly into the computer, odds are there'll be some sort of recording artifacts in the recording, and this helps with those discontinuities, basically. So that's why I use it. All right, so with that, I am going to go ahead and do the next 12 minutes, 20 seconds, probably take a little break, and then come back and do the next segment. So here we go. Videos in order to do that. And I thought that was interesting. They maintain communication, and Frank was like, if you need somebody, I'm available. So this interaction is going to continue. I was wondering at the beginning of the season when we went through the casting list and we went through all of the Liebermans, I'm like, why are we talking about, because I didn't think Mike Rowe's family was going to be a part of it. Obviously, they're going to be in most of the, if not all of the episodes. So we're going to see more of this interaction as things go on. Let's talk about acting special agent in charge, Dinah Madani, because I think she's doing pretty good. I think she would have handled the heist, the arrests, if Frank had not gotten involved. And I think she's been keeping her head down as she's been told by Raffi. And I think now, though, we're going to see a different face from Madani.
Well, yeah, because she's going to be the one saying Frank Castle is still alive. He's the one that did this. And people are going to be saying, no, he's dead.
Yeah. It's going to seem, she's going to seem like she's telling weird stories.
So I also try to get away from verbal crutches as well. And it's hard to do here on the video. I've said it before. Sometimes I leave them in, sometimes I take them out. It depends on if the mouth is moving or not. There are some ums that you can get rid of, and it doesn't look like the mouth is moving so much. But in this particular track, you can see that Haley's gain, her recorded volume level, is really low. So I can't really see where it is. So I have to use the volume meter on the left on her track there to identify exactly where it's coming in. I could tell it was Haley just because I know what it sounds like, and she's the only other host on this, and it wasn't me.
Yeah. It's going to seem... I'm
going to go ahead and get rid of that because I was starting to say something, but I'm not going to overpower her. So just get rid of that.
Yeah. It's going to seem... she's going to seem like she's... she's going to seem like she...
So there's a little breath sound in there. And normally I kind of leave those in and just take them out in Audacity, but I can clearly see it's in there. So I'm just going to take it out.
She's going to seem like she's telling weird stories.
Do you think she's going to admit that? See, that was so much of a sound that she was pumping out to Google Hangouts on Air, which is YouTube Live. And the camera actually switched over to you. We're using YouTube to live stream this and record it. Actually, I capture the recording, and that's what you see on the screen there. But it has automatic switching on it. So whenever you see the screen actually change, it's not me, although I do have the ability to do that. I generally don't because it leaves other video artifacts on the screen. So it is automatically switching almost the entire time. There's one particular time that I actually choose where it is, but that's at the very beginning, and there should be no reason why the video artifacts show up at that point in time.
It's going to seem... she's going to seem like she's telling weird stories.
Do you think she's going to admit that it's Frank?
If she's smart, no. Because,
it sounded like it could be.
No. If she's smart, no. Because, a dead guy.
It might be one of the...
Yep. She's got another throat clearing, or she's starting to speak. A lot of people actually make some sort of mouth noise when they're starting to speak. Gotta get rid of that. In this particular case, I could have just taken that whole thing out because I don't think there's anything of value here.
Please.
Do you think she's going to admit that it's Frank? There isn't, so let's get rid of that. Do you think she's going to admit that it's Frank?
If she's smart, no. Because, a dead guy.
It might be one of those things where she and Sam start looking into it on their own.
Yeah.
Sam, by the way, is an awesome... I I don't want to call him a sidekick, but I'll just call him a sidekick because he's just a character to watch throughout this whole thing. So I'm glad that there's a Sam Stein to watch in this. It's entertaining.
Yeah, he seems like a good dude. And
Okay, that is her just ginning up to speak.
yeah, he seems like a.
So what I'm going to do is take that part of it out. Entertaining.
Yeah, he seems like a good dude, and I really hope that he's not like a dirty cop or something.
But he probably is, because we can't have two good cops part.
Even though the screen is going to me, those statements have absolutely no meaning whatsoever.
But he probably is, because we can't have.
Maybe a reaction, and if you're looking for a general conversation, that's the sort of stuff you're going to see or hear. But I'm just going to take that particular spot out because it ends up being overspeak to what Haley is saying. And Haley, as we discussed in the last video, you take a look at the amount of time she talks versus the amount of time other people talks. I generally give her the nod and have her track kept. This doesn't happen all the time, but it's my general rule. So it's my go-to unless I decide that what I or somebody else is saying is more important. Then I'll go with that instead.
That he's not like a dirty cop or something.
But he probably is, because we can't have two good cops partnered together.
Can we?
I don't think.
What was that? Can we?
I don't think it's.
Sometimes that noise, denoise works and sometimes it doesn't. So it's hard to find it, but I'm just guessing it's either my track or Haley's track. So let's try this one more time. Can we?
I don't think it's.
Wow. I distinctively heard that before and I don't hear it now.
Probably is, because we can't have two good cops partnered together.
Can we?
I don't think it's happened yet in these series.
I guess not.
Like, one of the cops always has to be dirty.
I mean, there's Lethal Weapon, buddy cop stuff.
That's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, dude.
How do you know that? This is just us having a little verbal back and forth fun. Buddy cop stuff.
That's not part of the Marvel.
Just cleaning it up a little bit. Buddy cop stuff.
That's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, dude.
How do you know that Lethal Weapon is not a Marvel comic universe thing? Could be.
Okay.
You don't know either way.
Don't know.
All right. So let's talk about something that's. I'm going to try it without that. That's a crutch transition. Really shouldn't be there. You don't know either way.
Don't know.
So.
Don't know.
All right. I'm going to back up a second because that was the same noise that I heard earlier. I'll bet you it was coming from Lauren's track.
Like a dirty cop or something.
Yep. That's where it was. Had to go solo to find it, though. That's because the denoiser was actually working at that point in time. And obviously you didn't see it in the waveform. So that was a hard one to find. But we found it. So let's talk about something that's kind of a serious thing. And I'm glad it was brought up in this series. But I really cringe as to what's going on for Lewis. Because Lewis seriously needs some help. And he wants nothing of it.
Yeah, it's that thing where people need to admit.
So gasps generally work. However, what I've found is if you're in the car and you're listening to it, that sort of thing is kind of lost. So you have to be in a quieter environment. And I'm generally thinking most of my listeners are not in all that quiet of an environment when they're actually listening. Of course, I'm mastering it to that level, but I'm thinking in terms of the broader use of the audio, who's going to be listening to it where, and something like that, that exasperation, it doesn't really provide that much. I know in the audio post that's going to get truncated out. So I might as well just take it out here versus in the audio edit. It just saves me work later. Nothing of it.
Yeah, it's that thing where people
Hmm.
people that need to admit.
One thing that I know that's going on with Lauren's track, by the way, is I've actually pulled it up in Audacity and taken a close look to it. There are, there, her gain is really high, which is good in general. I mean, you don't want it clipping, but it's really high. But that brings up, in this particular case, the fan noise that's in the background. Generally, you want a big signal to noise ratio. You want your voice overpowering what else is going on in the room. In this particular case, that is true. However, the noise floor is higher. So the denoiser in RX here is having to remove that. And it is working probably overtime on Lauren's track. So there are artifacts that are coming through that generally wouldn't. Because Lewis seriously, yeah, like right there, I didn't see that. I wasn't paying attention. I'm just going to take that out. On poor Lewis, because Lewis seriously needs some help and he wants nothing of it.
Yeah, it's that thing where people.
Where's that coming from? I heard it.
Yeah, it's that thing where
Huh. Huh.
yeah, it's that thing where people that need to admit that they need help before, like, you can only push people towards help so much without them also admitting, hey, I need help and wanting it. Whether it's PTSD or any other mental issue, or
Okay, this crutch, I think I can take out.
whether
We'll see though.
wanting it, whether it's PTSD or any other mental issue or an addiction issue.
Definitely going to take that one out. Some people get bothered with them, some people don't. I would say if it's a 50-50 ball field, I would say more than 50% of the people get bothered by so I generally try to take them out. I'm not trying to be Nazi getting all of them out, but I do try to get most of them out because once again, if you're showing this to even dozens of people and can take 1 minute out of crutch words per 1 hour episode, so let's just say it's 25 people, you are saving 25 minutes of human productivity by doing that. And it just gets bigger and bigger the more people that actually listen to your podcast. So I just think in terms of general human productivity and not trying to waste people time, because I know for me personally, there's a lot that I'd like to do and I don't have time to do everything. So you make choices. And if one of those choices I can make easier by providing you back several minutes of time of listening to my content where it was originally recorded to be an hour and I can truncate it down to 59 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever, I'm going to try to do that. And I'm going to try to leave the essence of the episode in as well. You'll see here that I rarely take out entire sections of stuff, although I have done that before.
Or any other mental issue or an addiction issue, a physical issue, whatever it is, there has to be that agreement with the person that, hey, I need help and need to actively be working with somebody to to take this treatment, to be working towards this goal. And he really doesn't see himself, despite everything that we've seen so far, as somebody who needs help.
The dude shoveled and dug a foxhole in his backyard. I'm assuming it's his parents' backyard, in his
Yeah.
backyard, and he's living in it.
Yeah. The guy is in denial. He's in very deep denial. And it's, again, getting a bit real world here.
What I would like to do is take out that initial getting statement that she does before she says what I'm going to basically keep in the audio version in, but she's talking the whole time. I don't have another camera angle to go to, so I'm just going to leave that one in. I'm going to take this one out. It's the detriment of not being able to switch back and forth. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You can put a swish in sometimes, some sort of active graphic that kind of swishes in that says who you are, where you are, that sort of thing. That could work as well to mask an edit like that, but I'm just not going to do that for this. The purpose of me doing this is for the people that actually want to sit there and listen, whether it's at 1 speed, 1.5 speed, 2.0 speed on YouTube. For whatever reason, they have YouTube access and they don't have audio access. So my main reason is just getting it out to them in a reasonable sort of format here, so I don't try to go overboard on the video. And as I get more internet capability, I'm going to be able to provide that switching capability. I just don't have enough bandwidth right now. Yes, I know it's late in 2018 and I don't have enough bandwidth to pop back and forth several 1080 streams. And I have the best bandwidth in the area possible, by the way. Not the best bandwidth possible in the world, but the best possible bandwidth that I have here, up and down the speed of the internet. So I am just at a point where you're going to get what you get with the video, and the audio is the real product that I'm looking for. But this does help. This helps process the effects on each of the channels and render it that way. It does help the overtalk back and forth. And unfortunately, I can't slide things back and forth like I was talking about in the last episode in order to maintain both people's statements by using this, unless I go back in and render those little spots when it comes time to actually do the audio edit, which I have done before, but it takes a lot of time. So it's all a give and take. You know, you want to do this, it just takes more time, or it takes more capability, or whatever. So you got to do your level of production that you're capable of doing with the technology, software, and time that you have allotted. And the decision I made as I'm going through and editing the way I do is I'm going to take care of this, take care of the overspeak, and then deal with the other stuff in Audacity. It just seems to be the fastest way that I can do it. Also, other people, they actually edit at higher speeds, like 1.2, 1.5, 2.0 speeds. I found that I've missed a lot when I'm trying to do that. Just the way that my mind works, how fast my mind works, how fast my ears can pick things up. For those of you that don't know, I do have an ear disease. So I have to do it at 1.0 speed. You could probably speed it up, and you do so by this little rate in the bottom. You can jack that up to however fast you want.
Real world here. We are a culture that very deeply stigmatizes mental health issues. And we stigmatize it especially so in men. And as far as I've heard from friends that I've heard who serve in the military, there's an attempt to destigmatize it there, but it's still like, if there's something wrong with, quote unquote, wrong with you.
Okay, another that can come out. It's clear and distinct. Her mouth is probably moving, but I'm just going to leave that in.
Quote unquote, wrong with you, then there is something wrong with you. And that's not how it is. All it is some people have a harder time processing issues than others, just like some people have a harder time processing insulin than others. That's literally all it
I heard something. Sure that it's on one of our tracks. Yep. It's on Haley's track.
processing issues than others, just like some people have a harder time processing insulin than others. That's literally all it is. It's some people's brain chemistry works differently. And by treating mental health as a moral failing, we are also very deeply failing a lot of very vulnerable people. And I hope, I don't know what we're going to see from Lewis, but the guy who's playing him.
Wow, that was a big plosive.
But the guy who's playing him.
So just to let you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of that in Audacity. It's just going to be too rough, even at that point in time. I'm just guessing through rendering. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to EQ out, I believe, 200 megahertz and below, and it'll leave a lot of that B in, but not the plosive part. So it'll make it a little less jarring for the listener and their ears.
I don't know what we're going to see from Lewis, but the guy who's playing him, I mean, physically, he looks like a friend of mine who is still in the military and is still in
I'm going to try this.
who is still in the military and it's, I mean, already the actor's doing a fantastic.
Okay, just to let you know what's going to go out in post, Truncate Silence is going to take this down. What is this? 8, almost 8.5 seconds. So between me getting rid of this and getting rid of 8 seconds worth of silence, that's 8 seconds I'm giving back to my listeners. This happens throughout, and it just adds up over time. Can't do it here because I don't have any video to switch to. Again, I could put in some sort of a swish. If I get time over the holidays, I'll actually do that as a video element, but it takes time to do something like that. And if you don't have time, then you just leave stuff like this in. Again, I'm prioritizing the audio content, but I just want to tell you this would be an edit choice. Now, this is a very important subject that Lauren is talking about, and there is such a thing as dramatic pause. I just think that 8 seconds might be a little bit too much of a dramatic pause for even a video watcher.
In the military and it's, I mean, already the actor's doing a fantastic job of playing him with a lot of empathy. And it's, I mean, it's breaking my heart every time he's on. And it's, I mean, it's breaking my heart every time he's on screen.
Yeah, right. Because even when he goes through the anvil process at the beginning and he's helping out people and everything, he's a good guy, but he's a very, very flawed character right now. And for him to go back into that wet work, let's face it, this is a CIA hit team that they're getting together. And for him to go back in. Pick that up with my ears, by the way. It's very difficult to see in a limited amount of space. Now, I can actually make this whole thing bigger. I can reduce the size of the audio preview, and I can increase the size of these individual tracks. But honestly, since I'm not editing that level of fine, I have to vote with my ears in a lot of cases versus vote with my eyes on the tracks. team that they're getting together. And for him to go back into that, he would break at some point in time when he's over there. And Curtis warns against it. I don't want this guy. I mean, I like this guy, but I don't want him watching my back because bad things are going to happen. So Curtis, for his part, speaks up. He's like, yes, I've seen this. Something needs to be done. And you had Billy say, yeah, you're right. And regardless of where the character Billy Russo is going to go, I think he did the right thing here. He checked up on the guy. He found out that the guy wasn't cut for this sort of stuff, at least not right now. Saw that and then heard it. It's coming out. Cut for this sort of stuff, at least not right now in his headspace. And he couldn't be a part of Anvil. And it's tough, but I think that those, I heard that from Haley too, generally means that she's getting ready to speak at some point, which would be good in the future because she hasn't spoken for a while. As you can see, we're almost to the end of this segment. Another 5 minutes. And it's tough, but I think that those were all the right moves.
No, it was. The thing is, it's absolutely the right choice. And I think it was presented as absolutely the right choice. But it's also really heartbreaking because this guy, he gets his hopes up and he's doing so well. Like you see him just kind of fitting in there. You go back a couple episodes to where Frank and Micro are talking about torture, and it's, the absence of routine. That's what breaks you. And this kid, he had a routine, and the routine was what was keeping him functioning. And now he has the absence of that routine, and he's not doing well without the routine that had kept him propped up. And he was just trying to go back to somewhere where he would have that structure again. And they're denying it to him in his mind.
Yeah, we haven't seen the last of him, obviously. That this is a storyline that they're going to take through for a lot of, I believe, good reasons. They're showing us that this stuff really does happen and what can happen and what is available to help people as well along the way. I think that's good, at least for now. And I think it's only going to end, as far as the story goes here in The Punisher, I think it's only going to end badly. But hopefully, maybe, I don't know, maybe Frank comes in and saves the day. We'll see. Or Curtis, or even Billy.
I hope.
Or Curtis, or even Billy.
I'm hoping there's a happy ending here, and realistically, I don't think so.
What I did there is I took out the overspeak, and I'm glad I did, because what's going to happen in the audio version is I'm going to start with Lauren right there. So I'm going to end up taking this little piece out in the audio version. So keeping all of my thought all the way to the end is probably best if I'm going to jump here to Lauren anyway. Or Curtis, or even Billy.
I'm hoping there's a happy ending here, and realistically, I don't think so, knowing the tone of the show.
Yeah. Well, we're all anxious to see what's going to happen. Matter of fact, Haley, any predictions that you want to throw down right now on what's going to happen in the next episode or 3?
I think we're going to start to see the
or 3?
I think we're going to.
So what I did is she was making some mouth noises, getting ready to speak. So I took those out. I also took out this big that was right before, although there was still something left of that there. Maybe I got rid of it now. Let's check it out.
I think we're going to start to see the beginning of Dinah's investigation into Frank Castle. And I'm betting that's going to be a storyline that develops throughout the season. And Frank is finally going to have some guns. So I think we're going to see him being the Punisher.
Right. It's been a while. He was the Punisher in episode 1, but kind of slipped under the... See, just to show, I think that is a correct word right there. I don't know if I can really take that out or not. We'll have to watch my mouth. Right. It's been a while. He was the Punisher in episode 1, but kind of slipped under the radar for a few months. Lauren, any predictions? There's no reason that needs to be there. That's coming out. Lauren, any predictions? Actually, this is one of those rare cases where we can actually perform a video edit, because she has said and that triggered the automatic switching to go to her. So all I have to do is cut it roughly a second or so after I stop talking, and then right before she starts talking. And I can do this by clicking the next frame. There are 30 frames per second. The counter is right here. It's at the 11th frame of the 21st second. So I go to 22:11. Right. Then I will go down here, select all of everything. Actually, I'll cut it on over. It moved a little bit, and I will cut everything. Then I'll come over here to right before she talks.
Madani's gonna. Madani.
Excuse me. That was me muting my sneeze, by the way.
Madani's gonna. Madani's gonna. Madani's gonna.
So what I can do now is select all the tracks. You go to a vacant track, by the way, in Movie Studio to do that, and that selects all the tracks. And I will keep everything to the right. So that has kept everything to the right. Now I have to select everything. So go up to the top. There's various different ways to do this. If you have a faster option to do this, to select everything to the right, let me know. But what I do is I select it, and then I press Shift, and then I drag the cursor down all the way to the bottom track. Scroll, make sure all the tracks are actually selected. Then I go to where I'm going to move it. I scroll in a little bit, and then I just click and drag and move it all the way over. Some people leave a actual cross fade in, fade out there, and you can do that by actually pushing that in, pulling it out. A general rule of thumb that I found is a half a second or 15 frames, because that's what that's counting out, by the way, the number of frames, is a good way to do that. But since this is a hard cut, I'm just going to hard cut it there. And I've gotten rid of all that silence, and this is what it actually looks like in the edit. For a few months. Lauren, any predictions?
Madani's gonna hunt down Frank, and eventually they're gonna work together.
That's a little bit jarring. So I'm going to do a bunch of undos here. All right, so that is about a second. And then what I'm going to give it is about a second from when she starts talking. So it's 28:08. I'm going to go to 27:08. Click down here, and then do the same thing that I just did. Keep everything to the right. Selecting all the tracks, moving the tracks over. It's a little bit longer of a space between, but I think it's going to work here. Under the radar for a few months. Lauren, any predictions?
Madani's gonna hunt down Frank, and eventually they're gonna work together. And I don't know, just a funny one, just to try to lighten up the mood.
All right, can get rid of that. Let's see where I can start getting rid of it.
Mood.
I'm going to keep in Haley's exasperation there. Again, getting back to my comment before, probably you can't hear it in a noisy car, but you would be able to hear it if you're in a quieter room. And it's kind of a scoff, like laugh. So we're just going to keep that in. And then we're going to see, since this is a couple seconds long, we'll see if we can't truncate it, but I don't know if we can. Same over here. So let's just go back here.
Together. And I don't know, just a funny one.
See, this would be great if you were doing camera switching during that long pause. You switch to another one. Like if you had a solo shot of Lauren and then you had a screen that you had multiple shots of all the hosts, you can toggle it right then. And you know in post that you're just going to do what I did before and you're just going to cut it and it'll look like it is a quicker cut. It'll look fine in the quick cut and it won't look jarring or anything. Because if I would cut that right now, you'd see Lauren move or something in the background move or something. It'd just look bad. So I would prefer to leave the silence in than to do that jarring quick cut. And then the same over here, I'm guessing.
I don't know, just a funny one, just to try to lighten up the mood. Micro's wife is going to...
This would be in the next one. If you're a live producer on the ball, you could do that switching live and really there. And that's when like they make these switching keyboards that you can actually add onto your system. And if you have a hard key in front of you that you have labeled and you go ahead and know which scenes are what scenes, that's when those switching keyboards really come into play. When you're being a part of this discussion, you can go back and forth. Otherwise, if you're the producer behind the scenes and you're doing something like XSplit or even OBS, you can go ahead and make those scenes transitions behind the scene. But if you're doing both, you got to be on the ball. And that is something that Steven does extremely well. He doesn't do it every single time, but I would say he's like 98% effective in all that, which is phenomenal. It takes a special person to be able to live produce and co-host or main host a show. And I'm just pointing that out because in these particular examples that are on the screen right now, where my cursor is and then just to the left, those would have been perfect examples to do that switching cut.
Food. Micro's wife is going to hit on Pete, and it's going to be real awkward for everyone.
Yeah, in full view of the cameras too, I'll bet. Well, he's coming back to fix the headlight on the car, which, by the way, I've done that before, and on a minivan, it's a little bit difficult to do. So,
do you think he's gonna bring a pizza with him?
Probably. We didn't get Karen Page in this episode. I don't know how many episodes she's in, and we didn't get Claire either. And I don't know if she's in the series or not, but looking forward to seeing both of those if they'd pop up again.
I will say for Claire, Frank does not seem like the type of person that she would be as willing to help.
No, but if he gets banged up or somebody he's working with gets banged up.
No, I think Frank would stitch himself up.
All right. I think we can get rid of that. We'll see. Or somebody he's working with gets banged up.
No, I think Frank would stitch himself up.
It's a little jarring. I'm going to leave it in like that because otherwise it clearly sounds like she's interrupting me. And as a listener, that bugs me personally. I know it'll bug some of my listeners. So if I could take it out and it sounds a little bit jarring, but almost natural, that's fine. There are tricks that you can do to go in and lengthen that last little syllable that I'm saying in Audacity. You can repeat certain waveforms. You can do elongate the whole thing and then shift pitch and stuff like that of that particular segment, that syllable. And it's a lot of work for very minimal result in this particular case. So I don't recommend doing it. I'm just telling you that if you were in a crunch and you were doing some sort of a project and either for work, for school, for whatever, and you had to get that to sound a little bit better, there are tricks to do that. I'm not going to do it for this particular production. Or somebody he's working with gets banged up.
No, I think Frank would stitch himself up.
Okay.
Yeah, he is definitely the type.
What if Micro got hurt, seriously hurt, though?
Frank.
What am I saying? Okay. But, yep, no need. I mean, the might have been good.
Yeah, he is definitely the type.
What if Micro got hurt, seriously hurt, though?
Frank would stitch him up.
I think Frank would get Karen and Karen would get Claire, but I don't know. We'll see. For those of you that have seen the series and are yelling into your podcast earbuds, whatever, we're sorry. We're just speculating right now. All right. Next week, though, we're going to see the next episode of The Punisher, episode 5, called Gunner. We're looking forward to that. In the meantime, Lauren, if people want to listen to other great geeky content, what would you recommend to them?
Well, you can try out On the Bubble podcast. The most recent episode, Friday Night Lights, is episode 29 from early Facebook and
Okay, just had to point out a couple of things that happen here. I switched scenes in order to promote the On the Bubble podcast and the GonnaGeek.com network, because that's what this is a short little promo spot. And as you can see, I'm moving because somewhere along the line, the template got screwed up. So I'm moving it so I can see more of Lauren. As you can see, some of the artifacts of the YouTube capture that I'm doing on the bottom right show up in terms of the square blocks that are everybody. If you've ever been on a Hangout on Air YouTube Live, you know that there are square blocks that are videos of the other people that are in the YouTube Live with you, and you can see the top of that. Matter of fact, I think it's me, but I'm not quite sure. I don't have the full capture there, and it doesn't show in the recording after the fact that everybody can see. But because I've moved it, you can see that. Also, I didn't quite line up completely the On the Bubble logo into the spot that it's supposed to go into. So if you are using OBS, there's less ability to snap things into place, and it's more freeform than you can do in XSplit. And this was recorded with OBS Studio. I'm slowly moving to the fact that I need to do all my video recording and production on XSplit since I'm paying for it anyway, and I just need to build the templates over there in order to make it happen. So watch the video. It'll be a little stocky, and that won't show in the final version, but you'll see basically what I'm talking about here. Listen to other great geeky content, what would you recommend to them?
well, you can try out On the Bubble podcast. The most recent episode, Friday Night Lights, is episode 29. From early Facebook and light bulbs to eye drops and plastic footballs, the Friday Night Lights fan campaign is one of the more respected renewal campaigns of the 2000s. In this episode, we take a look at the historic fan campaign for NBC drama Friday Night Lights. Again, that's On the Bubble podcast, episode 29.
Should have just started. Oh, I see that shifted over. I don't know why that shifted over. Probably nudged it at one point in time, didn't mean to. So I'm going to line this back up. Close.
Episode 29.
Okay, now what I need to do, this might be it, I'm not sure. Actually, the bumps are down here. So I'm going to bring that up. Double up. That is the wrong. So you'll hear two different bumps right now. That is the wrong bump.
Episode 29.
Yeah. So I need to find that. Is it on here? Nope, it is not. Where is that? I'm not sure exactly where that is, so I am going to go looking for it. Huh. Well, here's a situation that I know where I can go find it. It's actually on the soundboard itself, but I thought I had put it in, even if I did put it in here. All right. So what I'm going to have to do is download it from the iPad. It's the easiest way to do it. I know it's stuck somewhere on my computer. I have not lost the file. It's just going to take me a while to do it. And I'm just going to turn on my soundboard so you can hear it. And I'm going to hear it too. So I know I have it. And in order to do it, I've got to log in to my... I'll do it over here, actually. So what Boss Jock Studio has is an ability to change files, transfer files over the home Wi-Fi. So it gives you a IP address that you then stick in there, and then you can scroll to the specific file in question. This is the file in question. I'm going to right click. Actually, I'm going to click. All right. So you heard it. It is, in fact, the file. I'm going to download it. There you go. It's in my downloaded files. I'm going to go into that now. And I'm going to just click and drag it over here. There we go. So now that I have it here, and I'm going to have to put it in my template. And oh, it's a stereo file too. That's before I started producing everything in mono. I can tell you then that all this is getting is the left channel. So this recording is only the left channel of this file. It might be combined. It looks like it's the left channel. I think it's the top one. In any event, I don't have to get that exact. I have gone painful in Audacity. I have gone into the individual waveform period, the dots, and found out exactly when it's crossing over the zero line and made sure you don't have to do that with a bump. If it's close enough, it's going to be close enough. And this is what it's going to sound like. See? So I'm just going to get rid of all of that, and I'm going to save the project. By the way, I think this is the first time that I've saved the project before I've closed the video. You got to save along the way. Every couple of minutes you should be saving. I have not been doing that. That is a bad SP, because I believe on videos have lost some work before, and you saw it in a previous video. If not, I must have chosen not to do that video. But that is what happens. Sometimes it gets stuck saving or rendering or something, and you need to actually stop the program, restart it, and then you lose a lot of your edits. I would have been livid had I lost that last bit of, let's see how long this has been, 52 minutes of work. So save it, even though it was only 12 minutes of audio, 12 minutes, 20 seconds. With my explanations, it took 52 minutes. So I'm going to take a short break right now, and I'm going to come right back, and then I am going to do the next segment, which is 11 minutes. So hopefully it'll be another half an hour, but maybe it'll be longer, like an hour. Anyway, that's it for this session. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Stargate Pioneer. If you haven't had a chance to drop into a live Twitch stream, you can always find these videos later on YouTube, which is where I'm guessing that you're actually viewing it, and you can leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And if you have a specific question, go ahead and ask. I might actually do an additional video. Somebody had asked me about Audacity effects, and thus the Audacity effects video that I did in the middle of editing this, because I had to do Starling Tribune file export. So you got a little bit into that. But that's all I have for this Movie Studio 15.0 Platinum by Vegas editing. And I'm just going to delete that, by the way. And I will be right back in a couple of minutes if you're on Twitch. See you guys in a few. 2 and 2, as Chuck Woolery always used to say. Bye.